What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Rex here. Welcome back to LaserPecker YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn plain stainless steel into stunning rainbow art using nothing but a laser. Yes, no paint, no chemicals, just pure laser magic with the LaserPecker LP5 and LP4. If you've never done color engraving before, don't worry, I'll walk you through the full process step by step. But first, what exactly is color engraving? Well, it's the technique where laser heat creates a super thin oxide layer on metal. That layer bends light and produces amazing colors. Kind of like a soap bubble or oil slick. It looks like magic, but it's real science. And today, you're going to learn how to do it. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's what you'll need for this project: a laser module LP5 or LP4, a cutting plate, your material which is stainless steel or titanium, H2 hex key, a level, a thin material to help with the measurement, and also a ruler. In this demo, I'll use the LP5 as an example, but I'll also show you all the tests we've done on LP4 as well. Plus, the color engraving process is exactly the same for both LP4 and LP5. Additionally, you can achieve colors on metal using either the fiber laser or the diode laser. Once everything's ready, let's start with the first and most important step in the color engraving process, the test array. This step helps you to figure out how many color variations you can get with the materials and settings. It's basically the foundation for everything that comes after. To achieve this, we have to use the mobile LDS app. First, connect your laser unit to the LDS mobile app and then hit the create to go to the creation page. And then go to settings and scroll all the way down and tap on the experimental features. And make sure you enable the single element engraving parameter and also the single element transfer engraving. That's very crucial. So make sure you enable those two features and then go back to the creation page. So once you enable those two features, you will see the material test array in the toolbar. So we're gonna tap on material test array. So right here, the first thing you can see is the maximum power and the depths, and also the minimum power and depths. So you can simply start with the default settings, which is from 10% to 100% for the power and the depths. But keep in mind, if you go too much on the depths, you'll barely see any colors. So in this case, I'm gonna go with from 10% to 100% for the power, and from 10% to 80% for the depths, as you guys can see in the software. And then moving down, you can see the Y rows and X columns. So the more you go with the X and Y rows, the more color blocks you will see. So in this case, I'm gonna go with a 10 by 10 grid, which is 10 for the Y rows and also 10 for the X columns, as you guys can see. So the more you go, you will see more settings and more color blocks. And also set up the power and depths for the text as well. So now we're moving to the engraving settings. So when you try to do the color engraving, make sure you always go with the fill. And also for the laser type, you can either go with diode laser or fiber laser. In this demo, I'm gonna go with the fiber laser, which is the 1064. And for the resolution, the higher you go with the resolution, the richer the colors will be. So feel free to test around, try with 4K, try with 8K, or even 2Ks. But in this case, I wanna go with 8K. And for the frequency for the LP5, I'm gonna go with 60 kHz. But if you're using the LP4, since the LP4 doesn't support the frequency, you can skip the frequency step. So once everything is on up and up, everything's ready, you can click the check mark on the top right, go back to the creation page. So now we wanna set up the size for the test array. You set up the size of your test array based on the size of your material. And in this case, I'm gonna go with 22 for the width. And that's the ideal size I wanna go with. And also the next step is really crucial, guys. Whenever you're trying to do color engraving, whether it's gonna be like a test array or the final project, you always wanna align center your file. So in this way, you can make sure you have a nice even colors for the results. So once we set up all the settings for the test array and also align center, now let's move forward to the machine. Let's get the machine ready. In this demo, I'm gonna remove the conical protective cover just for you guys to have a better understanding. But keep in mind though, you always wanna use the cover when you engrave. Safety always comes first. So we're gonna place the cutting plate right onto the base plate and also the material. We're gonna use the level from the toolbox and I want to place right on top of the cutting plate and check if the cutting plate on the machine is level. So make sure you check the level from side to side and also from front to back. So once your work surface is level, you want to place the level right on top of the laser unit. And the same stuff, you want to check if your laser model is level from side to side and also from front to back. If needed, you want to use the H2 hex key to adjust the screws right under the laser unit to make sure your laser unit is level from front to back and also from side to side. Now let's talk about a little trick we recommend when you're using the fiber laser for color engraving. It's called the autofocal technique. So normally, we'll engrave, the two red dots should coincide. That means you're at a standard 150mm focal distance. That works fine for regular engraving. But for color engraving, you are missing out on a ton of color options if you just stick with 150. That's why we go slightly off on purpose. Through testing, we found out 154mm give you significantly better color results. But you don't have to stick to just that. Play around with it and see what works best for your material. In this demo, we'll stick with 154mm. Use your ruler and some thin material to measure the distance from the surface of your metal to the laser lens. As you guys can see in this image, we've set it to 154mm. Once the focal length is set, go back to the app and tap Preview. Then place your material on the cutting plate according to the preview box. Then you are ready to go. Just start the engraving process. But keep in mind guys, once the engraving is finished, please leave the metal on the cutting plate for a while before you pick it up, cause it's gonna be hot. I mean hot to the touch, so please keep that in mind. Now, let's take a look at what we got. Compare your engraved result with the test array in the app. You'll probably notice that anything below 10% power, there's barely any color showing up. Also, we don't have much choice under 18% of depths, and colors greater than 64% of depth is kind of burned. So let's tweak it and run a second test array with the update settings. For power, from 20 to 100%, for depths from 15 to 65%. Everything else stays the same. This time, the colors should pop a little more. By narrowing the parameter range, you'll get stronger, more vibrant results. You can repeat this as many times as you need. The more you test, the more colors you will unlock. Once you find a combo you're happy with, you're already 70% done with your project. So before we move on to the next part, let's take a look at a few examples to wrap this section up. Here's a quick look at some test array we did with the LP5. Top row, fiber laser, 4K on the left, 8K on the right. Bottom row, diode laser, same setup, 4K and 8K. And here's another one with the LP4. Top 2, fiber laser, 4K on the left, 8K on the right. Bottom row, diode laser, same setup, 4K and 8K. These examples show how much of a difference your laser type and resolutions can make. Keep testing, keep tweaking, and you will get some awesome color out of your machine. Before we start editing, we've also prepared 4 color engraving files that are free to download on CraftZone. You can find all files in the description box. But if you want to use your own design, let me show you how to edit the graphic. First, open Adobe Illustrator and load your vector design file. It could be EPS, AI, or SVG format. When you click on the design, you may notice that unprocessed graphics have overlapping paths, which can cause engraving errors. So now, let's clean up the image. First, go to Window and open the Pathfinder panel. Select the design, then click Divide in the Pathfinder. After dividing, click the image again and double-click to enter the group and select one of the individual color elements. Go to Select, Sand, Fill, and Stroke. This will automatically select all elements in the design that have the same fill and stroke color. Next, in the Pathfinder panel, click Unite to merge them into a single shape. Then go to Object, Compound Path, Make. This step ensures that when you export the file to LDS, it will be recognized as a single layer. Repeat the same process for other color elements until the entire design is cleaned up and merged by color. Finally, go to File, Save As, and export your design as an SVG file. Now, we're getting to the most exciting part, guys, the final step for your project. Once you've completed all the tasks and finished editing your file, import the file and tap Fill, then ungroup the elements. Then, based on the effect you want to achieve, assign the corresponding color parameters to each layer. If you're not sure which layer is which in the engraving layer section, here's some helpful tips for you guys. First, go to Normal Layer and hide all other layers by tapping the eye icon. Leave only the first layer visible. Then tap Fill and you will see the corresponding layer is automatically selected. This trick makes it much easier to identify and manage each layer. Repeat the same process as needed until you set up the correct parameters for all layers. Once everything is set and all layers are visible, select all the elements and tap Group. Adjust the size based on your material and tap Align Center. Finally, hit Preview, place your material, and start the engraving process. Alright, before we wrap this up, here are 10 tips that will be tremendously helpful for your color engraving project. Tip 1. For best results, use silver colored stainless steel or titanium for color engraving. Different materials will produce different effects. I've also added the material link in the description box, so don't forget to check it out. And tip 2. The final engraving results may vary, depending on several factors, the material, ambient temperature, the machine temperature, or even how your object is positioned on a platform. And tip 3. Make sure your work surface and laser model are level. This helps prevent uneven color distribution. And tip 4. Clean the stainless steel surface before engraving. Avoid oil, fingerprints, or dust. Any contamination can seriously affect the oxide layer formation. Tip 5. Use mobile LaserPecker app throughout the entire color engraving process. And tip 6. Make sure your engraving file is aligned center before you begin the engraving process. And tip 7. Try experimenting with different focal distance, resolutions, and text array settings to explore a wider color range and get more vibrant color blocks. And tip 8. If you want richer, more saturated colors, try using higher resolutions. And tip 9. Avoid engraving large areas. Color engraving works best with detailed shapes and moderate field size. Large blocks may result in uneven or dull colors. And tip 10. Finally, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We've got more awesome tutorials coming your way. And that's it for all the content today. If you have any questions during the color engraving process, feel free to leave your thoughts and questions in the comments down below. I'm Rex. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye bye.